My name is Shakira Refos. Do I say my age?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm 33 years old,
You
and
want to start over again, so you be like,
oh, it's gonna be like that, huh?
I can just edit it out. Never mind.
My name is Shakira Refos. I'm 33 years old, and I've lived in Sarasota on and off for 17 years. We moved to Sarasota when I was, I believe, 5 or 6, I believe. My mother was a physical therapist, and in Sarasota there was a misratio of elderly retired people and physical therapists. So they started recruiting them from different countries. So she took the opportunity to come to Florida. Booker was phenomenal. I mean, Booker was an incredible experience. I was just able to, not that I ever actually thought I was an actor, but I mean, performing has always been kind of fun. I kind of like figured out how to sing when I went to Booker, which was kind of cool. Everybody, the stereotype about Booker High School back in the day, and I don't know if that still is. I mean, it's a black school. Basically, the visual performing arts programs were brought there to kind of bring white students to that part of town. So the stereotype, when you told anyone in middle school that you were going to Booker, they would be like, gangs and drugs and fights and all of that stuff. And I got to Booker, and it was the most welcoming experience. It was the most embracing, the most welcoming, the most nurturing experience that I could have had. And you know, looking back on that, thinking about all my friends who ended up going to Riverview, and God bless Cardinal Mooney, you know, talk about drugs and fights. I mean, I think in my experience at Booker, in the entire 4 years, I may have seen like 2 fights or something, or like heard about 2 fights. The way that, you know, the people who lived in the community mixed in with the theater crowd, everyone was just open and very embracing of each other. I mean, there was like, you were able to express whatever you wanted at Booker. So I was working at the museum. I was in college, and I was really not performing very well. As a hobby, I'd picked up like putting on hip hop events, like old school hip hop events, and I'd done that for a few years. So I'd had some experience in event production and promotion and stuff like that, and kind of parlayed that into this job at the museum. So the idea was that they wanted to attract a younger audience. How do you do that? Well, they had this event called Ringling by the Bay, where they put up a tent, and it was like a sunset thing, and like 6 to 9, and they had a cover band, and they thought that was just gonna, if we just promoted the right way, all the college kids were gonna show up. And of course that didn't happen. So then they're brainstorming, and meanwhile I'd had this idea of putting on an event in the courtyard with like original music, with indie music. And I kind of like pitched it, I wrote it up. Really, the concept of Ringling Underground as it's produced now is exactly how I conceptualized it, with art on the lawn, with, you know, playing under the statue of David. Having indie bands from the region around the country there, free for kids, free food available. I mean, it's having the galleries open and, you know, not telling people that they can't bring their drinks in. How do you create a space where people feel like they own a part of the museum, like own a part of this art space, make the art space accessible? It's by making it like a mini festival, you know? And so that's what we did. Ringling Underground is basically a mini festival. You know, we had a lot of issues with like security guards being afraid that people were gonna like touch the art as if college students are like savages. Like, you know, and we really had to adjust their thinking, you know. Yeah, okay, barefoot, it's okay, nobody's going to die. I think the Ringling has just always been, and rightfully so, it's just been such an important part of Sarasota's history that's always been like handled so delicately and so much bureaucracy, and like the culture just hasn't necessarily changed like you do see in bigger cities. You know, the brain drain conversation is huge here. People go to school here. We have 3 or 4 colleges in the area, and then they leave. They don't really stick around to help change that culture, to make it more friendly for younger people, be more flexible. And so nobody's forcing institutions to really change. I think there's a few of us in town that kind of like try to continue to pursue a more progressive way of talking to audiences and trying to attract audiences. But a lot of people don't have the patience for it. Like, why put up with Sarasota? And I just haven't quite yet gotten to that place.
Still pretty